Welcome back to the Temple of Technology. I am your host, Scott James Magner, the idiot with a microphone. It's time for another episode of So Here's the Deal, the RS Entertainment webcast where I explore my vast media collection and talk about what each piece means to me and my friends. In this episode, we're continuing our David Lynch Film Festival with another episode of Twin Peaks Season 2. Welcome back to the collaboration room. I'm your host again, Scott James Magner, the idiot with a microphone. And over there is my co-host and co-collaborator,
I am Julie McGuire. Queen of Darkness, was that what I was going with last time?
Queen of Darkness, yeah. We haven't changed her yet. We could change it right now. If you're going to go with Queen of Darkness, I'll put it right on the screen.
Okay, Queen of Darkness. I'm Queen of Darkness.
All right, you're seeing this live, everyone. This is how this works. We are just going to make the Queen. I can spell. The Queen of Darkness. All right. Oh, I'm so excited about this. And then we'll move this right over. Look at that. Julie has a nickname now.
All right.
Julie McGuire, the Queen of Darkness. No, I want to be the Duke of something.
Duke of Catastrophe. Because you could be the Duke of Disaster, but that's too obvious. I think
I already have young Master Caster Lord of Disaster poking his eye in here. That's my cat.
Okay.
I could take the articles out and just be Queen of Darkness and Idiot with a microphone. We'll explore that for next time. But for now, haha. All right, our many episode search that no one has seen at this point because we're stockpiling episodes as we record. But we've been talking about this getting a nickname for Julie for some time. And why are we here, Julie?
We are here to talk about David Lynch. And today, in specific, we are here to talk about Twin Peaks, episode 13. Lucky 13.
Lucky 13. And what is the fan-created name of said episode?
Demons.
Demons. You can see it right up there. Right over Dave's head. And so no matter what direction we're pointing, always orient on Dave and you'll get the important information because the episode name is up and what we're doing is down. Yes, our David Lynch Film Festival here on So Here's the Deal, where we talk about one of our favorite things, Twin Peaks. We are going through my recorded copies of Twin Peaks, specifically the Twin Peaks A to Z Blu-ray set. The real big one from everything that has Fire Walk with Me in it and the revival, and it's all on Blu-ray, and some of the episodes are even in 4K. We are not worrying about the 4K so much, but sooner or later, right? Julie and I live very close to one another physically, so we could watch the 4K episodes in 4K and do a special episode simply about the difference between those presentations and the horrible VHS presentations that we watched for so many years. I still kept on my server the old rips, and so we'll see what we could do with those. It'd be interesting. We are going at Demons here, and Demons is a very interesting episode because the ratings are down. In fact, the ratings are almost as low as they're gonna get for the season until we get to the second half of the season where things really get bad. But this is the low point for the first half of season 2 at 11.3. Next week ticks up dramatically as David Lynch comes back for an episode. And it's David Lynch Black Frost next week, and it is nearly double. So November 3rd, 1990 to November 10th, 1990, people heard about this episode and heard about how this episode had differed from the episode before it. And because there was no repeat viewing and there was no delayed viewing, if you missed watching this episode in November of 1990, you didn't see it. There was no TiVo. There was nothing. You had your
Well,
VHS copy.
I had friends who were
Right.
recording Twin Peaks at this
That's
time
it.
on a VHS.
So you would have had to record this, or somebody in your circle would have had to record this on VHS and then show it to you. But without that, that's how I watched Star Trek and Doctor Who for the longest time. I would set my VCR to record at 2:30 in the morning on Saturday night, and then I would wake up the next morning and watch Doctor Who. It was something that I'd seen before. I just wanted to see it again. And but Twin Peaks was one of those things. As mentioned, in 1990, I was doing other things that November. But this was directed by Leslie Linka-Glatter, one of our better directors, and written by Harley Peyton and Robert Engels, some of our better writers. And it is an episode that I feel returns to form. We'll talk a lot about that in the sections of So Here's the Deal tonight. But it is surprising to me how low the ratings were for it, because it shows the damage that the previous few episodes had done to the brand. It just was not working that way. And you can kind of see it in David Lynch's performance on screen in this episode, as he shows up for real as a special supervisory special agent, SSA, Gordon Cole. That's who the person who's in charge is that. And might even be director or something, or junior director or something, Gordon Cole. But he's supervisory special agent, Gordon Cole. And he looks beat down. But he also looks younger than I've seen him in forever. I've been staring at the Dave behind us for a year and a half now, and he's so much younger than he is in the Dave that's behind us in this episode, and it shows. There is a lot of crazy trivia about this episode that we'll get into later, but I think we will. Yeah. But talk to me about the watch group at this time. Had you dropped off? I mean, were you losing members?
I feel like we were not losing members per se, but everybody was getting less dedicated to showing up. We were more often like, oh, I'm gonna be at this thing, and then watching the video later. None of us had stopped watching though. So
Right on. Okay. So, without a lot of ado, Julie, would you like to read a Wikipedia summary for us? And we can talk about it.
Sure. Let's see. I'll read the short one.
Yeah, the thumbnail is good.
The thumbnail, yep. Episode 13, Demons. Leslie Linka-Glatter, Harley Peyton and Robert Engels, November 3rd, 1990. James rescues Maddie and Donna, who fail to take Laura's diary. Discerning that Audrey has received a near-lethal dose of heroin, Cooper and Truman identify Jean as a major Canadian drug trafficker. Cooper returns the ransom money to Ben, whose affection is rebuffed by Audrey. Shelley and Bobby discover that Leo's disability payment is substantially smaller than they expected. FBI Regional Bureau Chief Gordon Cole, Cooper's hard of hearing supervisor, arrives in Twin Peaks, revealing that a material found outside Cooper's room following his shooting was from a vicuña coat. That a drug taken by Gerard is a unique and unidentified substance, and that papers found near the crime scene were from a diary. Gordon warns Cooper not to get in over his head, referring to a previous incident in Pittsburgh, and delivers an anonymous message, an opening chess move, which Cooper believes is from Wyndham Earle. Cooper and Truman interrogate Gerard, who has a seizure and is possessed by Mike, who claims to be Bob's former partner, and recites a poem. Through darkness of future past, the magician longs to see. One chance out, between two worlds. Fire, walk with me. Mike reveals that Bob is hiding at the Great Northern.
Yes. I mentioned in our preview, our pre-show, rather, when Julie and I were talking, that this is the most Twin Peaks that this is the Twin Peaks I've been waiting for all season. It finally hits in this episode, and it's still kind of lacking, but it's so much better. So much better than the episode before it. And just having Mike back, right? Having the one-armed man back. And we're talking about Bob. We're talking about the death of Laura Palmer. We're talking about things that really matter. And not kind of side quests. Now, mind you, we talked just now, Julie talked about the side plot of Shelley and Bobby and Leo, which is the side quest that matters least of all side quests, except for the one that opens the episode, which is Harold Smith and the Kid Detectives. And boy, howdy, it's not great, that plot, and it brings us down in a bad way. But to help us parse what's actually going on in Twin Peaks, we got to check in with our friend, your friend and ours, Margaret Lanterman, the Log Lady. So let's go listen to the Log Lady now. It's part where, if you're watching, you'll see the Log Lady intro. If you're listening on podcast later on, you'll have to stop the recording, watch the Log Lady for yourself, but I'll recap what Margaret has to say right after this break. Take us away, Margaret.
Sometimes we want to hide from ourselves. We do not want to be us. It is too difficult to be us. It is at these times that we turn to drugs or alcohol or behavior to help us forget that we are ourselves. This, of course, is only a temporary solution to a problem which is going to keep returning, and sometimes these temporary solutions are worse for us than the original problem. Yes, it is a dilemma. Is there an answer? Of course there is. As a wise person said with a smile, the answer is within the question.
Diane. In first impressions, we should talk about, well, our first impressions on viewing the piece, introduce plot summaries or trailers, and engage in general chit-chat about the individual episode or the movie.
Thanks, Margaret. Cryptic as always. And to recap for everyone, I will read it in as best Log Lady voice as I can pull off. Sometimes we want to hide from ourselves. We do not want to be us. It is too difficult to be us. It is at these times that we turn to drugs and alcohol or behavior to forget that we are ourselves. This is, of course, only a temporary solution to a problem which is going to keep returning. And sometimes these temporary solutions are worse from us than the original problem. Yes, it is a dilemma. Is there an answer? Of course there is. A wise person once said with a smile, the answer is within the question. Groot has a lot to say about that, but what do you have to say about it, Julie? As the Queen of Darkness.
As the Queen of Darkness, I actually feel like it's more obscure even than she usually is. Like usually I can listen to it and think, okay, I can see how that pertains. This one just feels, I mean, okay, I guess it pertains to Philip Gerard, the one-armed man. I guess that's really
Yes, the drug use that we see in this episode is
yeah.
him.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess, well, also Audrey with her near
The
lethal
heroin.
dose
Yeah.
of heroin,
Near
which
lethal.
that's one of those moments where I was screaming at the TV, like, why didn't you, if that was nearly lethal, why didn't you take her to the hospital, you dipshits?
Yeah.
Uh, Apparently people only go to the hospital when they need to eat the worst food ever. I don't know.
Well, and remember, right? They had to drive her back from Canada
Yes.
where there's free
So,
health care.
yeah, about that. I
She's
mean,
all whacked out on heroin. You're an FBI agent. You can say, hey, we got a tip that a U.S. citizen was being held here. We went to rescue her, and turns out she's whacked out on heroin. They take care of that problem in the hospital in Canada. And then you call her father and say, you're an asshole, get up here. But that didn't
yeah,
happen.
no, that didn't happen.
No, we're just going to drive her off. And we got 3 dudes in the back of a Bronco and then a whacked out teenager. No one's going to stop them at the border. Because I was crossing that border on a regular basis in 1990, and they ask questions about everything. They're not going to talk about the whacked out teenager in your back seat.
I mean, I suppose they do pay attention to that FBI badge.
Yeah, maybe.
One assumes.
Maybe. Canadians, sing out if you're watching this, because we have Canadians who are our friends. Sing out if you're watching this, and let us know if you ever cross the border with a drugged out teenager and we're
although
stopped.
I'll notice if you're going back to the U.S., it's the U.S. border guards you have to contend with.
Sure.
Because a very, very common experience crossing the border, which I used to do a lot when I lived in Bellingham, is going up into Canada. Everybody was very mellow and kind of like, yeah, welcome to Canada. Spend some money while you're here. Coming back into the U.S., it was often all of a sudden, they'd have this attitude like, why did you leave the U.S.?
Yeah.
The best country on earth. Explain yourself. So I don't know. So it's really the U.S. border guards that you have to deal with, but maybe for the U.S. border guards, the FBI badge did the trick.
Yeah. First impression, very bad for Ben Horn. Ben Horn, bad. Dale Cooper, good. Justice for Audrey.
Justice for Audrey.
Who has agency when she's near death. I love her agency in this episode. That was a giant thing. I was so happy to see real Audrey back because she's going, is that true, Daddy? Is that true? And she just says, fuck off, without using those words on network television. Says, I want Agent Cooper to take me home. I said, oh, we can all go together. And Cooper just knows right there. It's like, if I have my gun, I'd shoot you. It was bad, Ben Horn, bad. He's so happy he got the money back, which we see later in this episode. He has no money, or it's all liquidity, it's all in the fire and whatnot. But he just turns around the fake cashier's check that he has and gives it to Josie. And what the hell's going on there, right? Where did that $5 million come from? It's unclear, because the Asian gentleman that's hanging out with Josie is very clearly Chinese, but Mr. Nakamura and his Tokyo investors are very clearly Japanese. And as a first impression, I know, of course, what's going on. As a first impression for watching this, it was just kind of a, where's going on? Where's follow the money? Somebody follow this money. And my thought is that as soon as Dale Cooper finds out about this money in any way, he is going to follow the fuck out of this money. And there's going to be a reckoning. But who knows if that'll ever happen, right? Here we are back in our Wayback Machine in 1990, when there was plenty of cop procedurals on where they were doing just that. Our pseudo-cop procedural of Dale Cooper, Kid FBI, is kind of lacking in this regard. because there's all of this crime going on literally right outside his door, and he's missing it all. And it bothered me. It bothered me then, it bothers me now. Dale Cooper sucks at his job. He's not Sidney Bristow bad, but he's not great at his job. But admittedly, by his own words, he's very distracted right now. He let his personal feelings about something get in the way, and people got hurt. And he brings up that this has happened before. And Gordon Cole brings up this has happened before, right? We're getting some actual backstory for Dale Cooper, rather than he talks to somebody named Diane and Albert and he go way back. So those things are nice. And then we have Josie Packard. Josie Packard got raped off screen. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, right? Her Hong Kong businessman forced her to have sex with him, and then she's there saying, I don't want to do these things. And he says, tough, do them, or I'll kill all your friends. And we're leaving tomorrow night, and get your shit together, we're going. She doesn't have to go. She doesn't have to go at all. She could make a phone call when he's out of the room, or just kind of leave the room whenever she wants. But no, she's been dominated and traumatized and abused, and that's bad. And then she can't tell Harry Truman about it for some reason, because she thinks she's protecting him. When Harry Truman is standing in the room going, yeah, I'm going to protect you. You, mister, you go away. We have to chat. Right? He was out of the room. She could have said whatever she needed to say to Harry Truman. She didn't say it. So that bothered me then, and it bothers me now. It's a thing.
I mean, I assume that she is genuinely afraid of these guys,
Yeah.
killing her. I mean, because they do seem like kind of heavy duty gangsters, like, even more so than Jean Reno. They actually seem like if they decide to make you dead, that you will be dead.
Yeah, these are proper John Woo villains. I mean,
yeah, exactly. These are proper villains.
Proper villains, not Canadian dollar store, Canadian dollar store,
Canadian dollar store
villains.
Villains, yes.
Yeah, like maybe they've got her family hostage. Maybe they've got some leverage over her that if she does not comply, it's not just her that suffers, but many more people will suffer. Don't know. It's not presented to us here. In fact, I don't even think Dave thought about it. To be perfectly honest, he just thought, "Oh, Dragon Lady, let's do that."
Well, and I also think, I mean, to an extent, he always kind of plays around in that noir area where people, even if he never shows us what it is, he always kind of has people act like they've got some, mysterious, something terrible going on. That's very common in David Lynch, for, people to present as scared and,
Yeah.
hesitant and things like that, where
Very
you don't always ever
very well to hurt. I mean,
yeah,
very Lynchian.
yes, like you don't always, and you don't always find out what it was. It hypothetically, in this kind of storytelling, it leaves the gate open to tell us someday, but
Yeah.
obviously that is, not where they go with. But also because the Josie storyline is a side quest, really.
Yeah.
As far as I know, it doesn't tie back to the main storyline at all.
It has nothing to do with Laura Palmer's death. It has a great deal to do with crazy happenings in Twin Peaks. For example, the death of Andrew Packard. Directly related to what's going on here with Josie and her friend. Oh, what has happened? I lost the thing. I got a thing back. That was odd.
Okay.
I'm an idiot with a microphone and, a mouse. Shall we talk about our first impressions of Harold Smith?
Harold Smith, wow. I mean, I actually sort of like that he goes pretty nuts here, because he's had that, he's given that kind of, I seem like a really, really nice person, but I'm nice in an Anthony Perkins and Psycho kind of way. You know, and so okay, he's finally showing that side of himself. Um, so I don't mind it too much. Although it did kind of make me laugh that he's like, "You're just like all the others." And I'm like, "How many others? Who? All the other what?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, how many girls have you brought here, Harold?"
I honestly wish that, and we're jumping the timeline a little here, but I honestly wish that, no, I'm going to save it. I'm going to save it for expanded coverage. This is first impressions. Yeah. He's in this episode for 98 seconds.
Oh.
Right? It's just, but those 98 seconds are immediately after the 98 seconds that he's essentially in the last episode, until James comes and body slams him and rescues the ladies, who apparently could have rescued themselves, but they were menaced by a gardening trowel, which apparently will only hurt Harold and orchids.
I mean, to be fair, they're probably, I mean, they're kind of in shock.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, yes, they could have rescued themselves, but I think that not very much time has passed. I think they're just meant to be kind of like, holy shit, what's happening? You know. So, see, I don't think they really needed rescuing, but they needed somebody to jolt them out of the shock.
The shock of Harold Smith has gone mad.
Yeah.
The madness of King Harold. What do you think about Maddie's goodbye?
Um, spoilers.
We just talked about the goodbye. And this is the 35th and 38th second of her being in this episode.
Actually, I like her goodbye because without going into the spoilers, I do think that it does establish that something, like, it seems like a nice goodbye, and yet it's just a little bit unsettling. Like,
yeah,
no, it's time for me to leave. You looked at me and you saw Laura.
And I liked it.
Yeah, and I liked it. It's also funny because I feel like at this point they could have reminded us that it's really only like 2 or 3 weeks have passed. But yeah, I also feel well, one of the problems is I'm glad she's, kind of closing things off with James, but holy shit, James has nothing to do.
No.
Once once we enter the latter stages of Twin Peaks, James just has nothing to do. They never got a good storyline for him going again.
Yeah, and it's his story doesn't end well. In fact, his story is not. It's gonna get a lot worse than it's gonna get better. I'll spoiler you all that, as he's a noir hero, right, of sorts. It's gonna get so much worse for James Hurley than it is right now. But Maddie's a grown-up. This is the reverse Cooper Audrey dynamic. Maddie is an adult. She is in her 20s. James is a kid. And he's trying to apologize and he's trying to be mature, and she's going, no, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I let myself feel these things. Those things were wrong, but it's also time for me to go, right? So she's having a mature adult conversation with a child who doesn't get it. And he's just bewildered as she drives away, and in Laura's car, I might add. So, deepening the mystery of I'm Laura, I'm living in Laura's life, doing Laura's things. And then he and Donna are just sitting around there being kids again, which I thought was nice, because Kid Detectives is clearly over, until James says, you got to go talk to the sheriff. She goes, you got to go talk to the sheriff. And then we see her in there talking to the sheriff, who's going, Kid Detectives again? Oh, you. You know, it feels like the sheriff in the Goonies, right? He's
Yeah.
tired of Chunk. That was the vibe that I got. Is that he's tired of having to deal with Chunk calling in fake things or doing fake stuff. It's like, really? A secret, another diary? Another diary? And I think you brought this up in your notes that, yeah, they know there's tons and tons of fucking diaries. They're every time they turn a corner, they find somebody else with a diary that Laura Palmer has done that sheds light on Laura's life and death. And I don't know why Harry doesn't want to find out about this, or at least go talk to Harold Smith. Because all he has to do is knock on the door and say, hey, do you have this diary? Can you show it to me? Not, I'm going to take it. Can you show it to me? Because that's how cop stuff works.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel
do you
like
want to file a complaint about whoever did that to your face?
yes. No, I think you know, having him initially do the reaction of like, I'm tired of your kid detective shenanigans. I think, you know, that leaves the door open. I think I remember that he does change his mind about that, although not in this episode. So,
Yeah.
so I'll cut him a teeny bit of slack.
A little bit of slack.
Because I do understand why he's fed up with the teenage detective shenanigans. Because, you know, everybody's fed up with the teenage detective shenanigans.
Yep. And that's, yeah, you guys suck. Go be kids. Enjoy your life if you can, with your best friend dead and you dating her boyfriend. These things happen. All right. First impressions of Regional Bureau Chief, Gordon Cole. Gordon Cole!
Gordon Cole!
Cole! I'm sorry. I can't tell you why, but it's important.
I liked him just fine for being a Lynchian weirdo, but as I think I told you in my notes, my husband Paul hated the character. He really hated the character. Like, he's just predisposed to hate it when directors put themselves into their movies or TV. So he always hates it, but he really just he thought Gordon Cole was goofy in the wrong way, I think. Um, but yeah, I think he's a, you know, classic Lynchian weirdo, so I'm good with Gordon Cole.
I love the pure farce of Gordon Cole, where he knows that he's shouting all the time and he doesn't have to. And I mean, I have lost more than a little bit of my hearing over the years, and I sometimes talk too loud, but I can hear my own voice, right? I can feel my voice echoing in my chest. I know how loud I'm talking. But those early hearing aids sucked a lot. And if your batteries went down or something, they were just a hair above the ear trumpet. And you would hold an actual trumpet to your ear to focus the sound into the tiny bones inside your head that make hearing work. But those early hearing aids were even worse than these AirPods for just focusing stuff in. And they've got hearing aids now that are so amazing you can hear hummingbirds outside your window, right? So from 1990, where he's using a clearly 1950s hearing aid, or at least 1970s hearing aid, because those are the ones that kids had when I was going to school. It was the transistor radio one with the earphones up to try to figure stuff out that you wore on a lanyard around your neck, which meant that you were guaranteed to get beaten up. Gordon Cole is a war veteran, and he's deaf because of the war and because of misadventure. But that's what happened to him. He fought a war, and it clearly wasn't the war that Harry fought. It wasn't Vietnam. It was World War II or Korean War, or maybe some shadow conflict somewhere as part of the Cold War. But this is the end of his career and the end of his life. And he talks about it being deaf for a long time, but he's good at his job, except for the part where he's just blabbing about FBI investigations at maximum volume in a room where the walls are this fucking thick. And I loved that Harry and Hawk call out. It's like, yeah, we can hear you. We can hear everything you're saying. But he can't hear them outside the room. He is only looking at Coop and talking to Coop when all these things are going on. So who knows how much hilarity is going to happen with Gordon Cole in Twin Peaks. He'll be a beloved character like our judge and his law clerk. Right? Somebody that we will tune in week after week to see. Or medical doctor, FBI agent Albert Rosenfield, who's simply just gone. What happened? Where did he go? He said he couldn't leave because there was a mystery to solve, and now he's gone. Right? The real answer is that he had another television show to film. And he was a big movie star. I think he's actually filming RoboCop at this moment. If you look at the timing for 1990. So Miguel Ferrer is in RoboCop and with the same haircut. I'll have to check to make sure, but I believe that's what he was doing, why he wasn't available for this part of Twin Peaks. We have to talk about Nadine and Ed. I don't want to.
Do we have to?
I want to cut these 3 minutes out of this episode entirely and get more shots of Audrey being sad. But we have to talk about Nadine and Ed.
I'm just not sure that's true that we have to.
Well, because Nadine and Ed inform the James Hurley plot, and I've already brought up, James Hurley is our noir hero, our plucky young noir hero. And because of the stuff that's going on with Ed's sister, James's mother, which will possibly become relevant very soon, because he's now confessed what's going on with his parents to Donna, at least. Her crazy retrograde amnesia just keeps going. And the longer it keeps going, the worse it's going to get. So Dr. Hayward can sedate her, maybe. But we've already seen that the drugs don't work on her. And she's super crazy strong. And she's able to throw Ed around the house like they're nobody's business. And she thinks that they're being sneaky while Ed's parents are away. Not realizing that they're married. And Ed doesn't want to tell her. And it sucks. It sucks a lot, this plot. Not as bad as the other plot we're going to talk about in just 10, 15 seconds. But it didn't belong here. It didn't need to be here, right? This could have been dealt with 3 episodes ago. And so why they needed to put this scene in, and it takes a while to film 3 minutes of television. It takes about an hour to film 3 minutes of television. That's an hour of shooting you could have spent on anything else in this episode. But Leslie Linka Glatter spent it on this.
Yeah, the problem is with Nadine. In the first season, we're introduced to Nadine as somebody who's kind of psycho and freakishly strong, which puts her on the long list of people who might have had something to do with Laura's death. When we eventually find out everything that's going on with her, and we know she's not a factor in Laura's death, she's also not a factor in anything else. There's not... Her story, this storyline is entirely isolated from every storyline. It doesn't have anything to do with them, really. It doesn't shed light on them. It doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't really have character developments. I don't know. I'm just big thumbs down for this. Big thumbs down for the second season Nadine amnesia storyline. And also because one of the things I liked about first season Nadine is that she was kind of bipolar, right? She would be she would go from being super angry to being super joyful to being super, just weird. She'd be obsessed. Think she's in high school Nadine is just like, she's basically just thinks she's in high school Nadine. What's wrong?
Hold on a second, Julie. The one of my monitors is turned off. It's the one that's got Zoom on it. So
Oh, okay.
Okay, I can hear you again.
Okay.
What was the question?
I was just giving him.
I'll edit this back.
Oh, I
later.
just. Oh, I'm not sure. What I was saying is that another thing I dislike about second season Nadine is that first season Nadine was all over the place emotionally. Like she'd be super angry. She'd, be giddy and joyful. She'd be obsessed. She'd be, just weird. She'd be sad. Season two Nadine is one note, one emotional note all the time. Is that she's giddy, joyful, thinks she's in high school. So,
Yep.
big thumbs down.
Big thumbs down. Thumbs down.
Big
And we're
thumb.
going to need
Thumbs!
a couple more thumbs.
So many thumbs, as
To
many
talk
thumbs
about-
as we can get.
Bobby. Ah. Bobby. Leo. Ah. Fuck with this plot line. Right? So this actually is one of the more enjoyable parts of this episode. To be perfectly honest. And it's awful. It is so awful human being stuff to do this to another human being. What ends up happening to Leo. And this is there are real consequences for their stupid ass plan, and there are real stuff going on, but you're making out with the man's wife in front of him as if he doesn't exist.
Well, actually,
This is fucked up.
they're not doing it as if he doesn't exist. They're doing it as if they think he can see them and is just helpless to do anything about it. Like, I don't think their vibe is that he doesn't exist. This is a performance for him. They're basically rubbing his face in the fact that he can't do anything. So I think it's revenge, basically, because Shelley in particular has been terrorized by Leo for however long they've been
I mean,
married.
she has every right to her feelings and her hatred for her husband.
But it's still fucked up.
Fucked up.
It's very fucked up. But it's funny as hell. Oh my God.
We were talking about the cake scene earlier, and I hate myself for laughing as hard as I did about Leah going face down on the cake, because they have already established that they're being cheated out of $4,300 a month by their social worker. Right? The dude is flat out stealing from them. They know, but they're kids. They don't understand that they can say, hey, that's fucked up. I can go to the judge and I can get all the money or whatever, right? But he goes face down on the cake. They could just fucking leave him there and their problem goes away. They're not getting the $5,000 that they wanted, which is, $60,000 a year. Yeah, $60,000 a year. That they would get for taking care of him, which is already an untenable plan. But you can get a lot more than that with a dead Leo than you can with a live Leo. You could sell his fucking truck and make $60,000.
Yeah. Also, another thing I love about the scene is how they're basically rubbing it all in his face, but the instant he shows even the tiniest little sign of being awake, they are terrified. But like, holy shit, the monster's awake. So yeah, they are still terrified of him.
Yeah. All right. So we've gone a little long in first impressions because there was a lot to unpack in this episode. But we're going to take a tiny break and we're going to come back for our expanded coverage. And we've got a lot to talk about.
Diane, in expanded coverage, we should talk about the greater universe and mythology of the piece. Any interesting personal takeaways, and tie the media into the greater works of the artist.
All right, back for our expanded coverage of Twin Peaks episode 13, 14, or 6, depending on how you count, Demons. And in our expanded coverage, we talk about how a piece of media reacts well with the rest of the filmmaker's oeuvre. And this is, as mentioned very early on in this episode, this is the most Twin Peaks we've been in a long time. There's so much noir, there's so much crazy back and forth, there's goofy people, and there's goofy stuff happening. But there's two subplots in particular we did not cover in our first impressions or even the overview. And they are Killer Mike and the continuing bad choices of Benjamin Horne and Mr. Tojimura. So our favorite by far is the Killer Mike plotline. And Julie has taken extensive notes on this, so I'm going to give her the reins and let her go. Because she is right in everything that she's about to say. I agree with all of it.
All right. Well, thank you. Yeah, I think that the Philip Gerard revealing himself as Mike, I feel like that scene is just about perfect and is very much a return to form. It's spooky, it's menacing, it's weird, and it also he lays out the sort of supernatural underpinning of Twin Peaks world very explicitly without feeling like he's over explaining it at all. I love his performance here. Al Strubble, we looked him up. He's mostly done live theater in Oregon, apparently. But the way he goes from being, very freaked out, very scared, and then when the other entity comes in, he goes into that sort of smooth, deep voice that we already know from Cooper's Dreams. I feel like he does that very well. Although I admit I'm a little troubled by the ethics of them not giving him the medicine. It's like, I realize that it's not a prescription medication, but still, don't give him medicine. Don't give him medicine.
That is the...
Are you guys okay?
That is the moral equivalent of beating a confession out of someone.
Yes.
It is torture.
Yes.
They are torturing Leland Gerard or Philip Gerard. They're torturing Philip Gerard. And that is wrong. Yeah. And it's the continuing teetering of Cooper. Right? It's the darkness of
Cooper's on the downward spiral.
Is getting to him. And he is becoming a bad person. And you can see how, this is where we talk about spoilers, you can see how Bob gets a hold in there. You can see where there's something for it to wrap around. It's because Cooper's making more and more bad choices based on emotion and loss of control. And that's not Dale Cooper. But it is Dale Cooper because that's how he's written. And that's who he's supposed to be. He's supposed to be this guy who walks the line. But they cross that fucking line here. And when Harry is the voice of reason, right? And no Deputy Andy this episode, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
No Deputy Andy. That subplot is over there, way over there. It's not in. There's no donuts. There's no coffee. None of the softening elements that the Twin Peaks Sheriff's Office usually gives us are present here in the Twin Peaks Sheriff's Office. It is a pit of horror. I think even Albert would have objected to what they were doing. However, they don't know what that drug does. And there's a very real part of this, right, where you don't get someone drunk to make them talk, and you don't give them heroin to make them talk. But Halperol is a drug that will make you not talk. It calms you the fuck down. And even though he's freaking out saying, I need my drugs, I need my medicine, I need my medicine, it's not medicine. He is taking a drug specifically so that he does not become Mike. And they want to talk to Mike.
Mm-hmm.
They don't even know they want to talk to Mike, but they want to talk to Mike.
They know they want to talk to Mike. So I want to just read his little speech because I feel like there's so much good stuff in it that
Do you want me to read it with you?
Sure.
We'll do the call and answer.
All
I'll
right.
read Cooper, you read Mike.
Okay, sure.
Pulling up the email right here. Okay.
Okay.
Julie typed all this out. It was very useful. All right. Who are you?
My name is Mike.
What are you?
I am an inhabiting spirit.
You spoke to me in my dream about Bob.
He was my familiar.
Where does Bob come from?
That cannot be revealed.
What does Bob want?
He is Bob, eager for fun. He wears a smile. Everybody run. Do you understand the parasite? It attaches itself to another life form and feeds. Bob requires a human host. He feeds on fear and the pleasures. They are his children. I am similar to Bob. We once were partners. Through the darkness of future past, the magician longs to see. One chance out between two worlds. Fire, walk with me. Oh, but then I saw the face of God and I was purified. I took off the arm, but remained close to this vessel, inhabiting from time to time for one single purpose: to find Bob, to stop him. This is his true face, indicating the sketch that we've seen a few times. But few can see it. The gifted and the damned.
Is Bob near us now?
For nearly 40 years.
Where?
A large house made of wood, surrounded by trees. Each house is filled with many rooms. The house is filled with many rooms, each alike, but occupied by different souls every night.
This is me looking at Harry. This is Harry looking at me. The Great Northern Hotel. Fade to black.
Yes. Anyway, I just things like few can see it, the gifted and the damned. I mean, it just, I don't know, all that stuff is just
There's a part of me that thinks the Great Northern is like the Overlook. The Overlook Hotel is
I
the
think
hotel from
that
The Shining.
that
And
part, yeah.
the Black Lodge could be in the other world, but it also could be just around the corner at the Great Northern, right? And just if you take the wrong stairs or you walk backwards through some area, you'll find that creepy old guy shuffling around with the milk and the madness of the other world, the other place. But this is chilling, and this is where when I watched it again this week, I got to this point and said, this is what I want. This is what I've been waiting for. This is what I have to have. Every episode needs to have this, because when I watch other supernatural media, I've been watching the show Haven a lot recently. I just watched the first 3 seasons of it, and there's 2 more seasons to go. And Haven is Twin Peaks meets Eureka. And they kiss. And they do stuff. And they even mention the X-Files. Is the X-Files meets Eureka, with enough Twin Peaks in there, because it's at the town where crazy stuff happens. But every episode has both mythology and Monster of the Week, and they're indistinguishable. They're like this as they go through the whole way. And that's what this scene with Mike was for me. It was mythology, and it was weekly drama, because they reference these things that they know. They put all the clues together. They're being adult detectives, not kid detectives, because they're actually good at their job. And then here's this guy who mysteriously disappeared out of a bathroom stall literally into thin air, and left his drugs behind because Mike took him and got him out, because Mike didn't want to talk at that moment. Mike did want to talk now that they brought him in there, and that Philip was in distress, and Mike just goes, you know what, let's just get this over with. Let's have a chat. And they're not sure what this is, because they made a point of saying schizophrenia, like multiple personalities, earlier in this scene, even though that's not really what schizophrenia is.
Yeah,
But it was a common misperception in television that when you were schizophrenic, you were split. You had split mind, is what schizophrenia means, split mind. And that means that you're divorced from reality, not that you have multiple personality disorder. But this is another being inhabiting Philip's body, not a personality, another being. And that's the core of what Bob is. And what Mike tells them, he inhabits people with darkness in them, people who are cursed. And then what do? We cut away to who? And that we see over and over again who is not in their right mind, who is divorced from reality, who does things. We spent a lot of this episode looking at a surprisingly rational and sane Leland Palmer as he's interacting with Ben Horne, being his lawyer, telling him how to do all sorts of shady shit. Make you show that even when he's not completely mad, he's not completely good in any way. And then halfway through our time with Leland Palmer today, Leland Palmer goes crazy again and thinks he's a Vegas loud singer, just singing at people dining at the Great Northern. Hey, where are you from? And they go, Twin Peaks. Oh, great. Love those lumberjacks. Right? And he's just...
No, it's not lumberjacks. It's something wackier that he's never mentioned before. What is it?
I think you wrote it down, yeah.
I wrote it down because it was so weird. Like steeplejacks or
Steeplejacks. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, like, is that a local sports team? It just... Has anybody mentioned it before? It was
no,
just
never.
super weird.
Never.
Yeah,
But it flowed. It was so Zoom flow. And this happens in the middle of Ben Horne's conversation with our least favorite character of all time, Mr. Tojimura. You saw Julie cringe there. Mr. Tojimura comes on screen and my soul dies a little bit. And this on top of all the stuff that's happened to Josie in this episode with the guy who actually has a name, like it's Christopher, something like that. This guy's name, who basically abused Josie and is yanking her chain. But this is the other Asian subplot, which are somehow indistinguishable. If you didn't know the difference between Japan and China, like most television viewers didn't at the time, you would think these people are all working some even huger plot all together with this thing to steal Ben Horne's money. But it's not Ben Horne's money. Ben Horne doesn't have any money. It's all in the Great Northern. Or he spends the entire Twin Peaks series trying to get other people's money. And he's trying to get Tojimura's money and keep it now. He's got the cashier's check, which he signs over to Josie. And now he's trying to make excuses to Tojimura. It's like, oh, well, your money's invested over here, over here, over here. You know, these things are wrong. And then Leland goes crazy. Ben wanders off to deal with Leland. And then Tojimura wanders off to the bar where Tojimura sits next to who? Pete Martell. And it's spoiler time, everyone. We're going to talk about Mr. Tojimura. Mr. Tojimura is Catherine Martell. She is Pete's wife in Yellowface for some bizarre fucking reason that is just not apparent to anyone. But we can all see who the actor is. We know who the actor is. The actress' voice is there. The actress' face is there. She's wearing a fake beard and fake hair, wearing a man's suit, which is not bad anyway. But pretending to be a Japanese businessman who somehow can just throw around $5 million cashier's checks. Where does Catherine get that kind of fucking money? And if she had it, why did she need to burn down the mill?
I assume the check is fake. I mean, I assume the check is bogus.
But it's a cashier's check, and he called his secretary to go check it out, and she checked it out.
I don't know. I assume that there's some kind of shenanigans going along. I assume that yeah. I mean, maybe that $5 million is real, but it's I don't know, the insurance settlement. I don't know what it is, but yeah, to me it just always seemed very fake. Like there's nothing behind that money, but it just seems fake. But yeah, Tojimura. You know, people always talk about like, oh, we weren't so PC back in the olden days, but I can tell you for sure, in the 90s when this was running, we were all cringing like crazy because the way Tojimura was done, and we could all tell. I can't remember if we could all tell that it was Catherine the whole time, but we could tell that it was not a Japanese person.
Yeah, this is
And
this is Charlie Chan writ large. This
and
is
we're just like, oh, really? You're gonna do that in the 90s? Come on. Yeah, exactly. It's like this is something again, it would have been cringe in the 50s, man. It was not by the 90s, we were just, I can't believe you're doing this.
It's not
I
great.
just can't. Ugh. Anyway.
And she's sitting there right there next to her husband, whom she loathes. She does not like him. They have bitter, bitter anger. And she doesn't exactly want him dead, but she wants him gone. Like, if he went out fishing one day and didn't come back, she'd be fine. She'd take the money and go somewhere else. She hates living here. She hates being shackled to this sawmill that her brother owned. She hates everything about her life. And the answer to that is not to become a Japanese businessman and run a scam on your lover, Ben Horn, who somehow can't figure this shit out. It's to just leave. Just go. And the reason why she doesn't is plot. But that plot is not shown to us in this episode, or the episode before it, or the episode before that. It's laid in step by step, piece by piece, till the eventual reveal of what's going on. It's just that that plot sucks. It's not a great plot. It is a side quest of epic proportions. But Pete is asking weird questions. You wouldn't ask those questions of somebody at a bar. You wouldn't offer someone a glass of milk and hand them a glass of milk at a bar unless you knew something was up. So Pete has to know. He has to know. But does he? Because he might just be kooky. He might still be Eraserhead Pete, stumbling through life, taking it with the wide-eyed stare, trying to figure out what's going on until weird babies show up out of nowhere.
I mean, the milk cracks me up, though.
It cracks me up.
You know, would you like some milk?
Ice cold
Like, does
milk?
he usually drink milk? Have we ever seen this kind of behavior from him before?
He drinks fish coffee, but not milk. Maybe he's drinking milk to get rid of the fish coffee smell.
That could be.
Hard to say. But then there's, if I can get this up here, the most cringe part about Nakamura. And we're, again, we're viewing this with different eyes in 2026. Come on, pull the thing up. Having technical difficulties tonight. The most cringe part, and this is even more than strapping Leo to a chair and making him watch you have sex with his wife, which is a pretty low bar to cross, but it's under that bar. It's worse. Is that Tojimura, to try to make Ben Horn shut up, says my family was at Nagasaki, implying that I was at Nagasaki, and that it's too soon. Even in 1990, almost 50 years removed, 45 years removed from the atomic bombing of Japan, too soon to joke about that or make that farce, because it's the most horrific thing any human has ever done to another human, is drop a nuclear bomb on them. And it's farce here, and it's solely put in here to establish the bona fides of Mr. Nakamura as being Japanese. When Mr. Tojimura is clearly not Japanese in any way, and it just bugs the living shit out of me. And it's the sour note, it's the fish in the coffee pot of this episode and of season 2. More so than the crazy Wyndham World stuff that's about to come up. Wyndham World was name dropped in this episode, but we didn't touch on it because not important. It's not important. It's a 30-second line between Cooper and Cole that becomes more important later, but in this episode, not important. It's just a breadcrumb. It's doled out to keep us there till Cooper has a past. We don't care about Tojimura's past. We don't care about his future. We want Tojimura gone. Pete should be grieving his wife, who's presumed dead, and stays at a bar at the Great Northern, drinking milk and listening to Leland Palmer sing show tunes. What the fuck is going on here? This is the most surreal of surreal. This is out there in Lynchland, and I'm here for it. But it's wrapped in a stinky fish in a coffee pot, and it's just kind of why do we have to sit through this? The reason why is because plot. But the writers of this episode and the director of this episode leaned right into it, and they let it run. Again, we talked earlier about how long it takes to film a scene. It takes a while, so they spent a while on this scene, these two scenes rather. The bits of the Great Northern with the bar and Leland and Ben, Catherine, or Tojimura and Pete. It's a while spent there. It drags us away from the meat of it, the steak of our steak and potatoes, which is go back to the sheriff station where we've got Mike in the box. So it's a Lynchian trope, to be sure. It's surreal and it's madness and it's people wearing masks and it's doing things. It's got music. It's got people who go mad. You know, this is the most Twin Peaks of all the Twin Peaks we've had so far. But are there any tropes we didn't hit in this episode? Because I think we got them all. We even got a recurring character in David Lynch, who was last on screen in Dune, in a deleted scene, but his voice was in Dune as the spice driver, and his voice was in Twin Peaks as Gordon Cole. But now we see him on screen. Are there any more tropes that we need to talk about, Julie?
Well, I definitely think the Mike Philip Gerard thing ties into a lot of David Lynch tropes, which is the duality and the existence of otherworldly beings, which again, it's like I'm not sure I would call that necessarily a Lynchian trope, but it is very much a Twin Peaks trope. So, but yeah, the duality, is definitely there. I also, and obviously the noir. I mean, every noir aspect, like Audrey almost dying of a heroin overdose.
Near fatal heroin overdose.
Near fatal heroin overdose.
Which means that there's good heroin overdoses.
And yes, and actually, I think that the scene with Shelley and Bobby and Leo, I think that scene is a Lynchian trope, because it shows up multiple times in Twin Peaks universe. It shows up in Wild at Heart. Is people doing really fucked up sexual things that are more fucked up than sexual, but they are sexual. Like that's something that shows up again and again in Lynchland.
Yeah.
Is
Agree. All right. I think we've hit all of our stuff. And it's time to move on to our final thoughts.
Final thoughts. Diane, my final thoughts. We should share the important things we want people to take away from this week's show.
All right. My final thought about demons is finally Twin Peaks Season 2 has started. You could almost erase the previous 5 episodes of this season and start with demons. There's a bunch of really important stuff that happens in those episodes, but that you could take those 5 hours and condense them down to one episode, or that before demons, have demons, take 10 minutes out of demons, and bring 10 minutes in from the next episode, and you've got a really strong 2-hour start of Twin Peaks Season 2. It took way too long to get where we are, and the viewership shows that number. It shows the decline that's going on, and I'm sad because this episode hits too late in the season to trigger a Season 3. I feel absolutely that ABC saw the numbers dwindling and had already made up their mind to cancel. before they actually canceled. And but they'd already committed to the full season run. They had nothing else to fill this slot. And remember, this is Thursday nights in 1990. Cheers is winning everything. And in fact, if you go to Wikipedia and you look at the list of Twin Peaks episodes, next to the viewership number that's on those thumbnails is a citation. If you hover over the citation, it's a news article from that time period about what the most popular show was that week. And it's Cheers. It's always Cheers. Cheers is kicking the living shit out of Twin Peaks all the way. I was, doing other things at the time, and even I knew Cheers was awesome. And I got back to watching Cheers much later, not with as religiously as I watched Twin Peaks, because there's so many of them and they're all the same. It's a sitcom, right? But sitcoms make you happy. They're comedies. They're situational comedies. They have a premise, they have a plot hook, and they have all the stuff that has to happen every episode, and then they have an end where you go to the status quo, right? It's the hero's journey writ small in 22 minutes. Twin Peaks is not that. Twin Peaks is a drama. It's not quite a soap opera. We're not trying to sell you anything, but then it's a primetime drama with supernatural David Lynchian elements. And must-see TV is really kicking in now over on NBC. They got more things added to their lineup to back up Cheers and do stuff that's going on those Thursday nights. And ABC's not cutting it. CBS is not cutting it. In fact, I even think Magnum was on Thursday nights at this point, right? And so if you tuned in to watch television on Thursdays, you were watching Cheers, unless you had a VCR like we did and many of our friends did, and you could record things. But Twin Peaks is finally here. It's just too late, and that makes me sad, but happy because now we get to watch more Twin Peaks. Julie, your final thoughts?
My final thoughts. Basically, I think I agree with you that this is when the second season really starts to click into gear. We've mostly cleaned up the lingering plot lines from last time, and we're starting to show some signs that there is somewhere interesting to go, not strictly focused on who killed Laura Palmer. But I would say that it's all, again, too little, too late in terms of the ratings. But I would also add that I feel like some of the plot lines they are gearing up, like for example the Nadine plot line, are not gonna cut it. So the Wyndham Earl plot line, fine. The Mike and the one-armed man, yes. And the other things that are going on, I remember at this stage watching it, I hadn't lost faith yet. I mean, I was still enjoying watching it, but I definitely was starting to feel like, where are they going with this? And not being sure that it was, just not being as engaged. So I feel like this is kind of a marking point in a way where you can see where they're starting to go with season 2, but again, season 2 is no season 1. So
yeah. And it's no season 3.
No, and it's no season 3.
Like, as meandering as the return is, it's better than this. Because he's had 25 years to think about what went wrong. And he was given complete creative control, and they just let him run. Here's $1 million an episode, Dave, go. And he spent that $1 million and then some to get us 18 amazing episodes of The Return.
Yeah, The Return. Oh, sorry, I was just going to say that The Return basically addresses it addressed everything that had bothered me in season 2. Like, because at the end of season 2, I had a big long list of things that bothered me in season 2 that weren't really.
Do you still have that list?
Fixed.
That'd be great for a visit.
No, it was just in my head.
Okay.
And so I'm remembering it. But just things like I I wasn't so narrowly focused on the who killed Laura Palmer question that I thought, oh, that's the only thing I care about. But it did feel like they struggled to get any narrative momentum going after after they closed that plot line out. Like that's what I would have told you is like it just felt like they couldn't find their footing. They couldn't really get the and it wasn't until very late in season 2 that I really started to feel like the narrative drive was kicking in, like where I was starting to actually care about the Wyndham Earl storyline.
All right,
And
Julie,
then it
what's
ended.
next for us? Yeah, then it
What's
just ended.
next for us? What's next for us is Twin Peaks episode 14, Lonely Souls.
Lonely Souls, otherwise known as the one where shit happens. So we'll when we next meet, we'll be buzzing. I guarantee we will be buzzing with electricity about this episode. It is one of my favorite episodes of the entire Twin Peaks universe and one of my favorite television episodes ever. It just is amazing. And with that, I've been your host, Scott James Magner, the idiot with a microphone. You can find me here on YouTube, this channel. You can also see me on Facebook and Blue Sky and a variety of other platforms where I stream things that are important to me because I like them. Julie, where can people find you online?
People can find me online at gothhouse.org. That's my main website. They can find my books at Eris Entertainment. They can find me on social media. I'm really the only Julie McGalliard at pretty much anywhere.
That's hilarious to me. Those are two very Irish names. And I have a very Irish name, but there's lots of Scott James Magners out there.
Yeah, and actually my name isn't Irish. My last name isn't Irish. It's probably Scottish French.
Oh, cool.
Because one of the reasons it's so rare is it's not really a proper Celtic name.
It's not a Mick.
Yeah, it's I've seen narratives of it that we were originally French Huguenots fleeing persecution, which fits because my family's extremely Protestant. And that our last name was originally something like Gaillard, which is a French last name.
Yeah.
And so, so they went to Scotland because Scotland was more amenable to Protestants than France. And that's when the name got kind of Scottishified into McGalliard, which isn't really a Scottish name, but it's something that Scottish people can say. And then the McGalliards mostly went to the New World. There's a hotbed of McGalliards in South Carolina and basically nowhere else. Anywhere else you go, they're all my relatives. Like, oh, there's some in Southern California. Yeah, that's my grandparents and cousins.
Well, I mean, I'm adopted, but my stepfather's last name Magner, and they're Pennsylvania Dutch, or rather, they describe themselves as being Pennsylvania Dutch, which was Deutsch, Pennsylvania Deutsch. They described themselves as being German, but they were intensely Irish. They were Black Irish living in Pennsylvania Dutch land. And when I met Great Grandma Magner, she spoke no English whatsoever. She was an old Irish lady in a rocking chair with a blanket on her knees. I honestly thought she was the mom from Psycho when I went in the room with her.
Wow.
When I met her for the one and only time that I met her before she passed. Because she was a mummy. But she was so Irish. She was born in the 19th century. Right? And I was not.
Paul's grandma was like that, but he never met her. She died, but yeah, didn't speak a word of English.
Yeah. So Magner is from County Cork. There's a Castle Magner. There's a Clan Magner. I've talked to the head of Clan Magner.
A castle.
Yeah, whose name is Thomas Magner, which hilariously is the name of my stepfather, who's now passed and left us. But you know, when I talk to him, it's like, I'm going to change my name. I don't like my father, and I'm going to change my name. He goes, no, no, no. There's so many cool things about being a Magner. It's like, but I'm adopted. He says, we don't care. Most of us are too. And so that's how Irish families worked, right? You're in, and away it went. But with 20 years of being online, I have established dominance for Scott James Magner brand, and I'm the first one that shows up. And there are members of parliament in Australia who are rank lower than I do in Australia because I have worldwide reach. Haha. Which means that more
All
of you
right,
should
in
be
your
buying my
face,
books.
Australians.
In your face, Australia. People entirely by criminals. All right. So that's us. Thank you. Julie mentioned RS Entertainment, my website. We are the sponsors of this podcast, the only sponsors of this podcast, ourselves. And there'll be a brief bit after this talking about RS Entertainment and the stuff that we do. But until next time, I have been your host. This has been my co-host. And we want you to stay weird, everybody. Dave would like it. And scene. Thank you for watching this video. If you'd like to support the stream, please like and subscribe on whatever platform you happen to watch it. But also, consider buying some books. RSEntertainment.com is a progressive publisher that focuses on independent authors and the stories that they tell. We have a curated selection of novels in science fiction, fantasy, high fantasy, space opera, horror, just about any genre that we believe needs some support, and the authors that need to do so as well. You can find this website by using this QR code or by typing rsentertainment.com into your browser and head over to our shop where you can get a free book written by me, Scott James Magner, called Homefront. Homefront is my 2014 science fiction novel, which I've later expanded into the Homefront trilogy of Invasion, Landfall, and Beachhead. But to get a sample, just go here, select the ebook, and you see it's $0. Free book delivered to you, your email. All you have to do is sign up for our mailing. That's it. That's all you need to do. Thank you very much for supporting us here at the Idiot with a Microphone channel, and we'll see you soon.